Okie dokie. You guys are live and to the world on the internet right now on YouTube. So, hey, Mike, I got a couple things first here. I'll just start out the meeting here just with a couple things. Mike, we are live on YouTube now. We have a quorum of the members of the commission. Just a couple rules to follow for this video meeting. One, this is certainly not elementary school. But if you can raise your hand to the camera, if you have a question. You guys are live and to the world. Hold on a second. Right now on YouTube. Getting feedback. Hey, Mike, I got a couple things.
Hi, Terry.
I'll just start out the meeting here just with a couple things. Mike, we are live on YouTube now. We have a quorum of the members of the commission. Just a couple. There we go. All right.
Are we going to get to hear you twice on all this stuff, Doug?
No, you'll not get to hear me twice on all this. I will start again, just with a couple rules. Again, this is certainly not elementary school, but if you have a question or want to make a comment, I would suggest raising your hand. That way, Mike, it'll be easier for Mike to know who is asking the question, and he'll be able to acknowledge you then. Same thing for voting. When you guys vote, if you can say your vote, but at the same time, raise your hand. That will allow Michelle and I the ability to count who is voting for what. And then I have turned the sharing screen off. So just in case that anybody would accidentally share their screen, which I know you don't, but then I will turn that back on. Obviously, if anybody wants to share anything that they want to show the rest of the commission. Again, we are live and broadcasting on the YouTube. Public comments are not allowed for this meeting, but as has been in the past practice, the public will be given the opportunity to provide written comments to the commission prior to the interviews, as we did in the last two. So the public will have the opportunity to ask any questions of the interview. The people that you are interviewing, they will do that with the written procedure that is outlined with the notice that goes out. Other than that, Mike, the meeting's yours.
I have one little housekeeping thing. Somehow or other, I'm got it to where I only get Terry and Michelle if I go look for them. So if you two have something you need to say, why holler rather than hold. If you hold up your hand, Terry, you won't get much response from me, I guess is what I'm saying.
No problem.
Good to know. I won't have anything to say. I'm just taking notes.
Well, that's good. We need somebody doing that. Well, we have some new folks here, and one of them we just heard was Michelle Moore. I think everybody is kind of, Michelle, I don't know what all Michelle does for Doug, but I know that when I was on the Judicial Qualifications Commission, well, she pretty much ran that operation. So I assume she performed similar functions in the clerk's office, and she's obviously going to try to keep us straight here. Katie and Carol, I think everybody's spoken to both of you. I don't know, do you have anything you want to say? I can add this much that Carol was appointed by the governor, knows everybody in Wyandotte County, and I think you admitted that, as I recall.
And no, I'm raising my hand. What I said was you can't talk about anyone to someone in Wyandotte County because they might be a cousin. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah. And Katie held us up a little because she was going through a series of elections and ended up with some kind of a duke 'em out election that selected her in mid-July. So I doubt it. I don't know, Katie, if you had even had a chance to read any of this stuff or look at any of it.
I've read everything that Doug has sent, and I'm happy to be here. So thank you.
Okay, well, I don't think there's anything more to do. Doug, are you going to talk about the operating procedure and the checklist?
Yep, certainly.
Let me say one thing before you do. You'll find in the operating materials that it says that I should be the spokesman. I guess I will be if we're reporting anything to the world about our activities. And certainly Doug and I will answer any questions if someone asks you something and you want us to answer it. But I was pleased when we did this last year. I'm sure I don't remember everyone that did, but I know Linda and Francis both had some relations with the local press in their areas. And I thought that having the individual commission members prepared to, if they choose to, discuss, tell a little bit about the commission, if it's asked by somebody in your area. I hope that if you feel comfortable doing it, you'll go ahead and do it. I think it makes us a little more transparent and a little more acceptable. And I think it would be it was to our benefit when we had you talking about what the commission did in response to press inquiries in your area. So if something's asked you don't know the answer to, you can say, ask Doug, or you can call and ask Doug yourself and call him back, or ask me. But I want you to feel free to go ahead and if you're asked questions by the press or by anyone else, if you know the answer, go ahead and answer it. If you feel that you're uncomfortable for some reason with the answer, you can throw it off to Doug or to me. Doug knows the answer to everything, and I'm pretty good at convincing them after a short period of time that they don't want to talk to me any longer anyway. So that's the one aspect of the operating procedures I wanted to mention. So Doug, go ahead.
Okay, I thought I'd start out with just some I thought you guys would find this pretty interesting. I'm going to share a document just to give you an update on what the governor's been up to with the Court of Appeals as far as appointments there. I think if you remember, she had sent Carl Folsom up to the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he had pretty much of a battle before the Senate Judiciary Committee. And so the person that she has selected to fill Judge Perrin's spot after the Folsom was denied by the Senate Judiciary is Amy Klein, who is an attorney in Wichita. And so I thought I'd just give you an update of where we're at with that appointment. And then, so there's that one. And then I think this is important because you're probably going to see some of these names again. So now there's an appointment that's necessary for Judge Liebman's position on the Court of Appeals. And the three names that the nominating commission that the governor has set up by executive order has given 3 names to the governor to fill Judge Liebman's spot. And that came this past Monday. She's again putting Carl Folsom up there, which is really, really interesting. And she's also put up Leslie Isherwood and Russell Keller. And so you guys will remember Russell Keller because he is the only one of the people that I've just talked about that came through the Supreme Court nominating commission. And so the governor has got to pick one of those 3 to give to go before the Senate Judiciary to fill Judge Liebman's spot. So I think it's pretty interesting because what's interesting about it will be to see whether any of those put in the names for the Supreme Court at the same time. So I thought you guys might find that a little bit interesting. I thought I'd start it off with that. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The thing to talk about for the operating procedures and the checklist, you guys can read those documents in the manual that I gave you and that Michelle helped me prepare and did a great job preparing that. You know, as Mike spoke, he is the chairman of the commission. He can speak, as he said, in unison and a unified response for the commission. But he and I are in agreement that it is a transparency when you guys are able to talk about what you do as opposed to speaking through Mike. And so again, we are happy to help you with anything that you guys want us to help you with as far as public communications. But again, if you want to run it by us, fine. If not, like Mike said, I think we trust you guys to do the responses that you did. And again, I think it does help in the transparency. Of all the operating procedures, your ultimate goal is to provide the governor with three highly qualified candidates for the new Supreme Court justice. You know, bottom line, that's what your goal is. 3 highly qualified people that you want to send to the governor, one of those appointed as the next Supreme Court justice. And along those lines, you know, the commission is composed of both lawyers and members of the public. And that is so important because I think that's a perspective that each of you bring to this commission. You bring legal experience, you bring public just general public experience, and then your life experiences to that. And so I think it's the composition of the commission, I think, is what makes this commission great. And so, you know, I think that's why it is such a neat little merit selection process that we have. Again, the Kansas statutes do not provide any guidance on how you do your job. That's what's really interesting about this. The statutes don't lay anything out other than to say you got to give 3 qualified names to the governor. And that's your job. And so, you know, how you guys do your business, how you make your decisions is totally up to you when you guys get together to make that and interview the people and the candidates. And so that's what's unique about this commission as well, is you're not giving marching orders, you're not giving procedures. You can act and you can run your commission on however a majority of the commission runs. And so I think that's important to remember as well. I think that's, again, what's unique. And perhaps maybe the legislation is intended that way, but it does give you complete discretion on how you want to get those 3 names to the governor. Again, that being your ultimate job. As far as the checklist goes, I am statutorily obligated to provide administrative support to you guys, both to Mike and to the rest of the commission. And I do that with a very happy smile. And so Michelle and I, Michelle at the bottom there, again, like Mike said, she's now in charge of the Commission on Judicial Conduct. When, you know, back in the Stone Ages, when Mike was in charge of the Kansas Judicial Commission, that's what it was called. But now it is called the Kansas Commission on Judicial Conduct. And for everybody who doesn't know anything about that, that is the commission that considers complaints against judges. When any member of the public or an attorney or even other judges wants to make a complaint against a judge, then they file with that commission. And so I'm incredibly excited to have Michelle as part of this commission, because she gets to see a lot of conduct of the judges. She knows what judges do and what they're not supposed to do. And I will add that Terry Campbell is on the commission as well, and has a perspective of the Judicial Conduct Code. And so that I'm happy to have Michelle, and you guys have a unique perspective to have somebody on your commission who deals with the judicial code on a regular basis. So you guys are lucky there as well. As far as administrative process, all I think I really need to point out is that as the applications come in, we're going to process those applications and get them into a format that you guys can all see them. We're going to do some background investigations for you that you will be given that information. And then at that point, you guys will do your job. You will do your investigations on the candidates that you are set to investigate, and then you'll report back to the commission with your findings. That's that's a very simple explanation of what you got to do. We'll give you the information, you'll investigate, and then you'll come back and report back to the commission with any of your findings or any of your recommendations or anything else that somebody has to say about a particular candidate. The next thing on the agenda there is the KORA and KOMA. That's the Kansas Open Records Act and the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The legislature has decided that this commission is a public body. It's considered a public body. And so therefore it is subject to the Public Meetings and the Public Records Act. And so that's obviously why we're on YouTube. Everybody a chance to see your public meeting. And that's a permissible way that we can make our meeting public. And at the same time, everybody can view it if they want. As far as records go, the Supreme Court has Supreme Court rules. All your records are completely confidential. So I think Mike is going to touch on that later on, but everything that you guys do, everything in your background check, everything like that is confidential. And so he will talk a little bit about why it's so important that you are able to speak frankly and also gain information that may or may not be flattering for a particular candidate, and feel confident that that remains confidential. And so that's a very important reason that the Supreme Court has given an exception, which is permitted under the Open Records Act, to make those confidential. And so other than that, I think that's about all I have. You know, if you guys ever have any questions about KORA or KOMA, feel free to give me a call. I think Carol, at being I can't even, a servant of the public is not even doing her justice, may probably have a better idea of all the public things that are necessary for open records and open meetings. So I may lean on her with the tough questions if I have them. But other than that, again, feel free to contact me if you guys have any questions or anything. And I'll help you out with the operating procedures, the checklists, and anything you guys need to do for your open meetings and open records. And with that, Mike, I'll give you back to the discussion items we had.
Okay. Well, the first one that Doug has listed here is the voting process. Terry, I don't think we want to decide it today, do we? But I would just suggest that what Doug has outlined and furnished to you is about what we did when we selected our previous candidates for the court to consider, for the governor to consider. I don't expect us to make a decision on procedures of that kind today. What I wanted everybody, and particularly maybe Katie and Carol, to have the copies of what we think we did last time, so that you can have some idea how it works. We don't have to decide that today, but you do have them in your materials. You all look it over. Terry, are you going to want to change it, or Gary, either one of you guys, or do you think it's going to be okay this way?
We worked so hard to develop it and make decisions on it last time. I'd hate to do anything different, and I would want us to use the exact same method as we used last time. I haven't reviewed what Doug has sent out, but if it's exactly the same as what we approved last time, then I'm going to support it.
If anybody has any changes or want to make any suggestions on different in the voting procedure, of course you can actually make them that day. We're voting as far as that goes. But I think if you do have some, you might throw them out to us so everybody can be thinking about it before we do our interviews and do our actual voting. Am I correct in thinking we had some discussion? Gary, was it you, Gary, that was thinking something about, you had a question about their assets or something that you thought we ought to reconsider, or did I dream that?
I think we're into the application now, if that's what you mean, Mike.
Yeah, I'm in the application form, which is fine with me, but I thought there were some points on that somebody wanted to talk about.
And I think if you guys are looking at the application, that one that was used should have a date at the top of it by submitting by noon of November 18th. I think that's the application that we used for the most recent process. And so that if we're all on the same page, it should be the one that says November 18th at the top.
Yeah. May have to change that date before you send it out.
Yeah,
again.
I'll change that, Mike.
I may have dreamed this, but the point I'm making is if you have that application, if you're looking at it over on page or on item number 14, paragraph number 14, state your approximate individual net worth, and then there's several other questions there that have to do with finance. I personally think finances are a pretty important subject that we have to consider with these candidates. Obviously, we don't want a Supreme Court justice that is in financial difficulty, at least when they go there. We don't want them to be in financial difficulty. And I was thinking there was a concern about that. If there is, this is probably something we ought to discuss today, because we need to get that application out. What, Doug, next week or something like that?
We were planning on putting it out on Friday. If you guys adopt it today, we'll upload it to the court's website and then send out the announcement, the application period is open, and they can find the application on the Kansas court's website. So if you guys can come to an agreement on the application today, I think that's pretty necessary for your process moving forward.
Well, my point is that I probably wouldn't change it, but I'm certainly thinking we should consider any issues if anyone thinks there are changes that should be made. Yes, Linda?
What I remember from last year was that there was a question about a husband and wife, and the assets of the applicant were substantial because of the fact that it was a joint ownership. And I remember some discussion about that. I don't know how we could modify that, but at any rate, I do remember that it was some
Okay.
things we discussed.
Maybe I dreamed it, but that may be what I'm thinking of it. That in your mind, that doesn't justify a change or doesn't require a change. Is that right?
I don't really know. I just remember discussion about it.
Okay. Well, put it this way, is there anybody thinks we should consider a change in the application?
Terry, did you have a comment?
I do. Particularly in today's environment, I would favor a question that has long been a part of the United States Senate questionnaire process for federal judges. And it deals with the question of discriminatory organizations. I'll read it aloud and then I can provide by email to you all a copy of it, or Doug, and he can submit it to the press, but it's available to the public through the Senate Judiciary Committee questionnaire of the United States Senate. What it says is as follows: the American Bar Association's commentary to its Code of Judicial Conduct states that it is inappropriate for a judge to hold membership in any organization that invidiously discriminates on the basis of race, sex, or religion or national origin. Please indicate whether any of these organizations listed in response to 11A above, and of course, those are the organizations that people have listed as being affiliated with, and we have a question about those affiliations already on our application. In response to 11A above, whether any of them currently discriminate or formerly discriminated on the basis of race, sex, religion, or national origin, either through formal membership requirements or the practical implementation of membership policies. If so, describe any action you have taken to change these policies and practices. So I
Okay,
would
Terry,
favor
let me
a
be
question
sure.
along those lines.
Let me be sure I'm tracking with you. Because I'm not sure I am. We require them to list the organizations they belong to, right? That you would be concerned, this question.
I
would be
believe
concerned.
so. I
And
believe,
then, and so what we're saying in this question that you're proposing is to ask them if any of those organizations, which they have described being a member of, have discriminate in any of these manners you're outlining. Is that it?
exactly.
So the supplemental question would simply be, are any of the ones listed above or on any of the ones you listed above, do any of those discriminate? And
And it goes a little bit further than that, but that's the gist of it, yes.
how does it go further than, I know it would list various ways to discriminate, but other than that.
It also,
Terry, do you want to share? You can certainly share that if you want.
yeah, I can put it up on my screen if I can, and then.
I don't know if I can read it, but maybe you can. I got it on an iPad. Maybe I can.
Let's see, share screen.
You should be able to share it and then highlight that document and then it should come up.
All right, can you all see it?
No,
Not yet. Did you hit share, Terry?
I tried to, let me try again. There it is.
You want to email it? There it comes.
Oh, there,
Okay, there it
there.
is. And what I've put up on the screen here is actually a judicial applicant's actual application, which is a public document, because I wasn't able to pull the form as easily as I was able to pull someone's actual questionnaire. But it's this question B that appears roughly in the middle of the screen. We wouldn't want the exact language because it's specific to the federal questionnaire, but we could use something very similar to it. And the paragraph below that, of course, is the candidate's response about the Harvard Lodge. But what I'm talking about is this paragraph that is highlighted, paragraph B.
Mike,
yes, go. Yeah, Linda.
as a member, as an honor regent of the Daughters of the American Revolution, does that mean that I can't continue on this commission?
No,
Hard to be a daughter without being a sex.
no, I totally agree. If you can still hear me. And in fact, when I filled out my Senate questionnaire years ago, I felt it necessary to report my prior affiliation with the Optimist Club and the Rotary Club. And of course, in their history, it's been many, many years now, but those used to be discriminatory organizations too. So the idea here is to bring out those kinds of things that everyone knows, but also some things that other people might not know. And we're not saying that if you are in an organization that was previously discriminatory, or even that currently is limited to a certain sex, that's a disqualifying issue. But we're saying that that's something that we would want to know about.
Okay, now you know.
Yeah. Well, Terry, are you proposing that to add a question of the kind you're describing? I mean, I know you have to modify it a little bit, but are you proposing to prepare a question that makes this modification, send it to Doug to include?
I would propose that, yes.
Sure, second?
Yes, Jerry.
Okay. Been moved and seconded. Does anyone else have any comment or need
Terry,
more?
Terry, if you want to unshare that screen.
Sure.
Okay, my question was, did anyone else have any? Gloria, you have your hand up there.
I just want to say, I think it's important that we have a question of that nature in our application, especially in light of what is going on in the world today. It's not perhaps as broad as some of us would like to see, but I think it's fine.
And I will add that your question number 26 currently states, list all bar associations, professional associations, or professional societies of which you are or have been a member. Give titles and dates of any offices which you have held, such groups or committees, or which you have served. Maybe the next question then could be incorporated as those organizations listed in number 26, Terry, and that way.
Respectfully, Doug, I think it should come after paragraph 27 of the application. Because paragraph 27 says list all civic service, charitable, or other community organizations of which you have been a member.
So then, maybe Terry, the question could add those organizations listed in 26 and 27.
I agree, Doug.
Gloria, did you have
If the
something
motion
else?
ends up carrying, I'll be pleased to provide suggested language to Doug for circulation to you all.
Gloria, did you have something else on that?
No, I think they took care of it. I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any comment or discussion or question? If not, all in favor of having such a question prepared and furnished to Doug so that we can include it as, I guess it'd now be 27, is that it?
27A, Mike.
27A, okay.
It'll probably just change the numbering to 20. That would be question number 28. And then it would be organizations listed in 26 and 27.
I hope we're not reaching the point where we're discouraging people with our form, but I think this is a worthwhile change. Is there anyone else that either wants clarification or has a comment on the motion? If not, all in favor, hold up your hand and I'll see how many I can check. Carol, I can see your hand. It's your face I can't see. That's okay. I'll oppose same sign, but it was unanimous, so I don't think there'll be any opposed. All right, we'll make that change. Terry's going to prepare it, send it to Doug. Doug is going to incorporate it, whatever number, probably 28, but whatever number it proves to be. Are there any other suggested changes in the application, either adding or subtracting? Good. I guess is what I'd
Did you
say
want
about
that
that.
question to be submitted to the commission before adding it into the application?
Well, I don't care. I trust these guys to do it. But could you, as you submit it to Terry, when are you trying to get this done, Doug? Tomorrow?
As long as we have it done by Friday, it's fine.
Okay. Terry, can you get something to him today?
Yes.
Okay, Doug, why don't you get it, when you get it today, why don't you figure out how it fits in and run it to us tomorrow?
That's fine. We'll stick it into the application to make sure we have the numbering right and everything like that. And then we will send you the application and you guys can look and see where it fits in the application. And then you'll have the.
If any of you think you have a concern about it, or you see something wrong that you think we need to address it, I want to know about it Friday morning. And then, otherwise, I think Doug's going to send this out Friday afternoon or Monday, aren't you?
Yeah,
More
Friday
More
afternoon.
likely Michelle's going to do it.
But we're gonna try to shoot for Friday, have it all posted on Friday, send it out on
Okay.
Friday, and get it posted on Friday.
Well, we'll look at it. Yeah, Gary?
I just think that we ought to, while we're on the form, we might as well give instructions to Doug and Michelle, excuse me for not remembering your name, young lady,
It's
and
okay.
to change the dates of when the deadline, the application should be returned, so that we only have to do the edit this once.
Yeah, we'll do that, and we'll update it to give it all the correct dates in there, and then you guys will have the final application that you're. But I just wanted you to see what the application looked like with the last one before we made any changes to it.
Okay, have you figured out with those dates, if following up on Gary's question, with those dates, do you have the time figured out of when you're gonna give them to have completed their application? And
The schedule, I think you guys have that in your materials as well.
yeah,
You know, I think it's basically how long you guys think you want to give them. If we got it to press on the 24th, then perhaps it could be returned by September 2nd. That gives them almost 5.5 weeks to get the application completed. And so if you guys think that's a proper timeline, then we would suggest, or at least I would suggest September 2nd, which is in the middle of the week for us, which is an important time for us to make sure it's the middle of the week. 5.5 weeks. I think we went with 6 weeks last time. You know, it's totally up to you guys how long you want to give them to prepare their application. It does, for new people who are submitting their names for the first time, this is a tremendous amount of work. For those who have done it before, it's a cut and paste and update. And so it's kind of up to you guys how long you think you want to give the applicants to prepare their application. Again, September 2nd, Wednesday, gives them about 5.5 weeks.
I think the way I'd like to handle this, folks, is to say, we're going to do it that way unless some of you raise a concern about it, then we'll discuss it and vote on it. And I'm not trying, I don't have some special preference for September 2nd. Gloria, go ahead. Did you have your hand
I
up?
want to remind us, Doug, how long did we have last time to do our investigations? I'm more worried about us getting our work done.
Right, and so if you guys set the deadline down at September 2nd, then you have, I put down there.
We'll have 4 weeks, but what did we have last time?
I think you've had about the same time, a month. You guys have been generally had a month to complete your investigations.
Okay,
Average is a month of both of them. Again, you guys can do this however long you think it's going to take. You know, I think if you want my advice, I think you set a tentative date for the interviews, because it's going to be hard for 9 of you to get together. And again, we're going to talk about this later, but I'm going to have to get 9 of you here, 9 of your schedules to meet here in Topeka if you want to do this in person. And so that if we can set tentative dates there, that would be great. But at the same time, my feeling is that we can probably because we have the social media aspect of this completed now, or the process completed, we can get our social media work done in probably a week, week and a half. All the other investigations are going to be a week, week and a half. So you guys are going to have all your information in 2 weeks. And so if you are working and doing all your investigations and reviews and talking to people, you get your interview stuff within 2 weeks, you're going to have another 3 weeks to compile even more and take a look at the information that we give you. And so again, Gloria, we gave you about a month, I think, or maybe a little bit more than a month, but not much more than a month. And that's how long you guys did your investigation work.
Looking through your past review, thanks. And the schedule this time is very, very similar to what you had last time, Gloria.
It's very similar to Justice Johnson's schedule that we did last fall.
Linda?
I have a question about the deadline for applications. is there some way that this can be controlled so that they understand that the deadline is the deadline and it's not the next day or the next day? What can we do to make this very, very, very fair?
I don't remember. Have we had trouble with that, Linda? I'm trying to remember.
We did have one. Yes, we had one that was late,
Well, I don't know. I think
very
I-
late, not very late, but we had,
I've always felt the deadline should be the deadline, but sometimes we were getting recommendations or supporting letters that came in late, and if they got there in time, we went ahead and used them, I think. But you're talking about an application coming in late.
an application coming in late, and so then it was up to us to decide whether or not to consider that. I don't think that's the way it ought to be, you know, if it is, and I'm not trying to be rigid about it, but you know, how can
And-
we make it clear so that everything is fair to all parties?
And I will add that I put that on a Wednesday because we get mail that day. Currently, the Judicial Center gets mail is processed on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So if we get something on Wednesday, I know we got it on that day. If we set a deadline either Tuesday or Thursday, it gets a little bit fuzzy for me. And so if we can keep it on I don't like Fridays because things happen at the end of the week. I think if you put it at the middle in Wednesday, that's the best time for me. But again, it can be any Wednesday.
Okay, well, I don't have any problem with saying the deadline's the deadline, and if it's late, if it isn't in their Wednesday mail, or if they don't receive it, they didn't hand it to them Wednesday, why? They didn't get it in time. I don't remember this issue before, so I'm a little stumbling because I can't remember how we handled it. Was it an earlier one? Because Linda, you're more experienced at this than
No,
I am.
no, it was the last one, but
Yes,
it's okay. But it was just like the next morning, but
Oh,
it was mailed the week before, but the court did not they didn't get it at the court till the day after the deadline.
right.
yeah.
And I will add that part of our administrative responsibilities will be to send out an email immediately when we receive the application, so they will know whether we have their application or not. It's a little bit tricky. A lot of people really like to certify stuff to us and hand deliver stuff to us. And we encourage that because the United States mail has failed me several times. And so I think that the fact that our building is open on and we can receive that stuff, I think it's necessary to keep it on Wednesday for me. That's all I was going to say.
Well, I don't know. You know, the truth is, Linda, no matter how we do it, if we get something in after Wednesday, we're still going to have to agree that it's cut off, that it's not admitted. And I assume we're going to do that because it's our rules. Our application says it has to be in by whatever Wednesday we're talking about. So I guess the answer is you can never eliminate the fact that the commission could go back and reconsider it. But I don't have any problem with a hard deadline. Does anybody else? What do the rest of you think?
Well, I think the statute, Mr. Chairman, gives us the authority to, even after we receive all the applications, to recruit additional applications.
Yeah, it does.
We don't like the ones that we have. So I don't necessarily want to prejudge it, and I would just as soon make a deadline and then we'll deal with any circumstances as they come up.
Okay. Is that, you comfortable with that, Linda?
It's up to the
Yes, I-
commission.
I guess I don't know how else to do it, is what it boils down to. What else? Do we have anything else on the application? We might
No,
talk a little bit.
I think that we ought to agree that Wednesday, September 2nd, 2020 is a good day for the deadline to receive applications.
If you want to have a motion, is that a motion?
Well, no, I thought we would also discuss when we want to conduct the interviews and then make it all
Yeah.
into one motion.
Okay,
And so just to give you an idea then, that gives you about I think it's 35 days to do your investigations from September 2nd to October 5th. Again, this is more of a schedule for you guys to do the interviews. This is more of a scheduling thing than it is getting your investigations done, I think. So once we get outside of a month or 4 weeks or 5 to 6 weeks, this is going to depend on when you guys can get together to meet. So I don't know if it's a scheduling thing right now that you guys just give a tentative time period of when they're going to hold interviews. And again, I only say that because I think that you can I think when we send out the announcement about the applications, we can say that the interviews are tentatively set to happen this week or even on these couple days. But if you guys only get a handful of applications, then you can certainly decide to move up the process. So, you know, it's totally how you want to handle it. But I think you guys need to kind of set a date now that 2 days to hold interviews if you can.
All right.
Carol?
Well, let's look at that.
Just approximately how many applications do you typically get? And how many investigations does each commissioner have to undertake?
That's a good question. Well, I think, what did you have last time? About 4 apiece? 3 or 4 apiece?
Yes, you guys had, I think, 18 to 19 applications last time. As Mike can explain a little bit about the process of how those are, how you got teamed up if you want, Mike.
I should do that. I'm sorry, Carol. I keep forgetting that you and Katie are new, so I'm not being very considerate, I guess. We agreed last time, and I thought it worked great to divide into teams, and that we had each district be a team. So for District 3, you two, even though you're brand new to it, you would be a team. And as a team, what you'd be responsible for, there would be a random selection of the applicants who would be assigned to your team to investigate and to write your investigative report on. And you would write these reports. Michelle's going to have a place to stick them. If we send them into her, she'll get them up in the cloud somewhere where we can read them and we can all review them in preparation. But part of the reports and materials that we receive and review in connection with our task is the reports that we prepare ourselves on the candidates that were assigned to us. Now, I want to go a little further with that explanation and say that there's nothing fancy about these, but you're going to find when you go out to talk to people, they're going to say, well, is this confidential? And of course, if it's oral, it isn't. So you're going to want to prepare written reports, and we're going to want written reports because all of the board members or all the commission members will want to have reviewed the material that you prepared. I want to go further and add this. Although we're going to assign these applicants so that we know everyone will be investigated and someone be prepared to introduce them and sort of host them at the time of the interviews. It is also true that any member of this commission can look at any of the other applicants that weren't randomly assigned to them and say, well, I want to go do a little checking on Susie Q. And if you do, that's perfectly all right. As a member of the commission, you can check every candidate if you want to. But if you do, and you come up with some information on them, we want you to prepare it in a written report, submit it to Michelle so that it can be included with the other materials that we review in preparation for our interviews. So you're going to have some people who are assigned to you, and you are responsible for being sure that an investigation of them is conducted. But in addition, if you choose to go out and do some investigating of several of the others, that's perfectly all right. But again, give us a written report of anything you learned in that process. When you say, what am I going to do, or what's the line for my preparation of my report or our report for the commission, I'd refer you back to that checklist. And I don't know, I'm looking for my copy, Doug. I'm not finding it, but we have a checklist that's been sent out to you. And it identifies things that we would sort of expect as a minimum that you would accomplish in conducting an investigation of an applicant. And you will also learn that I'm as chairman, I avoid any work on this thing, so I will be available if you have any questions or anything of that kind that you start on something, you say, well, what do I do about this? Gosh, call and ask me or ask any of the other members of the commission. But I'm going to kind of be drifting around a little bit, finding out how everybody's doing, seeing if we're running into any problems. And I'm certainly available for any questions or concerns or comments you might have as you go through the process. When Gloria was talking a few minutes earlier about how much time do we get, what she was recognizing is that we get a bunch of written reports from others, like the disciplinary administrator, or if it's the person's already a judge, it may be from whatever that commission I used to be on that I don't know the name of anymore. There are, and then we also have several other things. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I had my phone blowing up here. But we want to have all this written material as soon as we can. And some of the written material you want to look at before you do your investigation, because it may tip you off to something else that you'd like to know a little bit more about, or that you anticipate we're going to have questions about with regard to a candidate that you've been assigned. I don't know if that's enough information for you to kind of understand what we're doing or not, but I want you to know that all of the people that are already on this commission have conducted these in the past. They do a good job of it. They can tell you how to do it if you have any questions, and I'm supposed to kind of pay attention. And if you have a problem, and sometimes it's a matter, does anybody know so-and-so, because we need to go talk to that person. Nobody knows them or knows how to get a hold of them or something. Maybe one of the rest of us can help with that. If it's in Wyandotte County, we may be asking for your help, Carol, so it might not be a one-way deal at all. Is there anything else? Yeah, Gloria?
Well, last time in the first go round, we divided the candidates up by congressional district. And so that Dennis and I basically took the people who were in the 4th district. I mean, that's who you assigned to us. Are we going to do that again? Or are we going to really do it randomly? The second time we did it randomly because we'd already investigated most of the candidates once before.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I thought random, but maybe you're right, because we did try. When we tried to divide them by district, we found out that I don't know whether it was District 3 or District 2 or someone, somebody had way more of the candidates than, for example, District 1 did.
Which is fair.
Linda's nodding her head.
Yes.
And
no,
so,
that's what happened.
and so we kind of thought the random was a better way to go. But there is some benefit, I suppose, to investigating the ones that are local, because it'll be easier for you to investigate them. Is that what you're thinking, Gloria, or what?
Well, it just means you probably know more people who can give you input about the candidate, but I'll go either way, just so we know what we're doing. And what we did last time, as I recall, is you assigned them you at least assigned the people in the district together, in the congressional district, so that Dennis and I had 4 people, and he took the laboring oar on 2, and I took the laboring oar on 2, and then we crossed our information with each other.
Yeah, I think it would be good to assign them to teams rather than, are you saying, is that what you mean, rather than assign them individually? In other words, we're not going to assign somebody to Gloria Flingy. We're going to assign somebody to both you and Dennis. Is that a fair statement?
You assigned them, the way you assigned them last time was you assigned them to Dennis and me, and you listed 2 of them as my primary responsibility and 2 of them as Dennis's primary responsibility. And so I started out with my 2, he started out with his 2, and then we kind of cross-referenced with each other. Isn't that right, Dennis?
Yes, it is.
Well, I don't care how we do it. I guess my thinking was that you could change that. I mean, as far as that goes, you can swap the ones you're investigating with another team if you want to. But
that
certainly within your team, you can let you guys figure out who you want to do it. The end of the day, we want to have them all done to the minimum level set out on the list. And we want to have everybody have an opportunity to go do more investigations on their own if they want to. Yeah, Linda?
I just wanted to say I was teamed with Jerry Schultz because we were in the same district. And I found out right away, he was right on it. And I really appreciated some of the people got their reports done early. So we were able to review them in detail and feel very confident when we went to interview. We have to remember to get on those reports right away and not wait till the night before to send them to everybody. Because we all need time to process it.
Doug, Gloria's kind of jogging my memory. On the first one, did we try to assign them to the districts? In other words, if it was somebody in the first district, we'd ought to send it to the first district team. Is that what we did the first time? And then we found out we didn't have it. The people didn't distribute equally in the districts. And so we come up and it was something else. How did that happen?
Trying to remember.
I remember what happened was you did it by district, but the Johnson Wyandotte County district had more applicants than anybody else. So I got one of those people just because there were more of them than Terry and Francis, is that right, could handle. And so we took some of them away from them, but initially that's how you did it. That's how
I think that sounds right, Mike. We started out by congressional district, and then for any district that there was too many, we randomly selected those to fill other districts to even.
Okay.
And so I think what Gloria is correct then. What you guys did the second time around is if you had the same person, you just flipped with your congressional partner and they did the investigation on that person that time around to see if there's any supplement that needed to be done. I think that's what happened.
Okay. Okay, well, we won't have to worry about that issue on this
Terry?
one.
Katie and Carol, one of the things that I think most or all of us found during the last couple rounds is that once the process of investigation starts, you'll start to get calls out of the blue from different folks advocating for one client or another. And from time to time, you'll get useful information from those kinds of calls that you would want to report to the rest of the commission, even if they're not some of the people that you've been assigned to investigate. And I think all of us, when we got that kind of useful information, other than just, hey, vote for this person, which is not particularly helpful. But if there's something substantive, then that's something that I think we can all put in a report and give to the remainder of the group.
Yeah.
Francis?
I just wanted to add that, Doug, after you made those assignments, we had a call. And then if anyone had a personal conflict of interest, that's when we kind of switched those names up of that conference call.
Oh. I assume I was there, even though I don't seem to remember. Doug, but you must have done that, Doug, particularly if it got screwed up, you did it.
Well, that brings up an excellent point, Mr. Chairman, that when the application deadline is September 2nd, we need to schedule another Zoom or conference call for the purposes of receiving the assignments and working on report deadlines and making sure that we can confirm our or set the interview schedule as well.
Well,
But the
we
2
could-
days that we need to set aside is something that we need to discuss once you felt we've given this full airing, sir.
Well, I guess all I was thinking was that we needed was you think we need another meeting after the applications are in and before the interview schedule, other than to set the interview schedule?
Well, I do, and the reason is that we need to receive our appointments and then be able to tell the commission that we can do that investigation, or perhaps there's a reason why the person that you've assigned should not do that investigation, because although it's probably not going to be a problem for Linda and I, since we had one person that lived in the first congressional district in the last 2 appointments, so.
And I think,
I would leave
think-
that as an opportunity. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say that I think that when that deadline happens, that'd be on Wednesday, the 2nd. If you guys wanted to plan on another meeting at 1:30 on the Friday, the September 4th, I don't know what that looks like for you. That's the Friday before Labor Day. But we could certainly schedule another Zoom meeting for Friday, September 4th to, 1, confirm the interview day schedule, and then 2, discuss any conflicts or rearrangements in the investigative assignments.
Doug, how quickly will you put a press release out about the applicants after the deadline?
We will try and do it that day or the next morning. Everybody wants to know that. That's one of the things that everybody wants to know. And so we have the noon deadline. I think we tried to do that the next day on the 3rd.
Well, couldn't we have our conference call on the 3rd then? Or does that make it too busy for you?
We'll make it work. It's whatever you guys want.
I would recommend that.
I don't care. Dennis? Yeah, Dennis?
Commissioner, thank you. I would suggest that if we're going to have a quick call to get assignments of the candidates, we would try to do that no later than Thursday before Labor Day weekend, because
Okay.
a lot of people would probably like to be traveling and, have a long weekend and try to plan to have Friday available for other things. That's a suggestion.
Well, okay, then that would be on September 3rd on that Thursdays. That's what you're suggesting also, is it, Dennis?
I would, yes.
Yeah. And I don't care. Does anybody opposed to doing it on the 3rd?
Terry?
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Dennis and Jerry and whoever else said that we ought to have a meeting on the 3rd. The 3rd is my 50th birthday, so I'm going to be traveling and I'll be on the West Coast. So I would prefer a very early morning meeting, so that like 8:30 Central if possible, so that we can, so I can get on with my day out there.
You mean the 4th, Terry? Did you mean the 4th? Because I think we were talking the 4th.
Was it
Yeah.
Friday the 4th or Thursday the 3rd? I could do either one as long as it's the first thing in the morning.
Do we have to say happy birthday to you, Terry?
You are.
Man, when we
I-
get
I
done
will
singing, you're
boycott
gonna
the
really
meeting.
like that.
I will boycott the meeting if you sing.
You guys are gonna scare Katie and Carol off if you make them sing. Terry, I want to make sure I understand. If we have an early morning, that's 3 hours early or 2 hours earlier for you. Is that what you mean?
Right, I would be available for a 6:30 Pacific time meeting, but once we get
Okay.
past 7:30, then I start to get into my other commitments on the West Coast.
I have a question.
Go
Linda,
ahead.
Does that give Doug enough time? Like if somebody walks in applications late afternoon on Wednesday, does that give you enough time to get organized?
that is a little tight for us. I will say that. And so I don't know if you guys would be amenable to a very early meeting on the 4th. Let me think.
Thursday.
Doug, we do have a judicial
Yeah.
conduct meeting starting at 9:30 on the 4th.
Might need to go to the 5th on Friday, if that's the case.
The
I'm
4th,
open, I'm open to
4th is a
that.
Friday.
Yeah,
Well, Doug, I'm gonna let you say, Doug, I think the problem is gonna be getting this information compiled, assigned, out in time for us to have honestly, I don't I'm trying to understand how you're going to do that before Friday anyway, but maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, that is part of it. We just have to make sure we have everybody and have all their applications and get all that downloaded for you guys to start. And so it's going to be tight on the 4th, but I think I might be able to push our judicial conduct meeting. If we could start this meeting at 8:30 on the 4th. I don't know what you guys think about 8:30 on the 4th.
I think it's fine.
I'm okay.
And I can sweet talk my judicial conduct commission to maybe starting a half an hour later.
We're not going to take that meeting's not going to take very long. If we've got the stuff in our hands, we're going to just find out if anybody has something they don't want. And if so, swap with somebody else. Probably could do it without a
I
meeting.
will trust your optimism, Mike. I don't know if everybody's okay, then 8:30 on Friday, September 4th. Terry, does that work for you? Okay.
Yes, sir, it does.
You won't have too much happy birthday hangover there.
If you saw how much I can drink without falling asleep, you would know that that's never a problem.
There's only so
Okay.
much you can do in Sonoma County.
And you said that's going to be your 40th birthday, right?
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Life begins at 50.
Okay, so then we will shoot for the next organizational meeting on September 4th at 8:30. We will use the congressional districts as much as possible we will randomly select those digital districts if we can, and then randomly pull out whoever, if we don't have enough slots for that. And then you guys will talk about the interview schedule, any conflicts or any rearranging at that next meeting on the 4th.
Right, and I'd also like to take up, Mr. Chairman, setting the dates for interviews and set 2 days aside, and I'm respectfully requesting the 5th and the 6th and not the 7th or 9th.
Of October.
Correct,
It's October 5th and 6th.
yes.
And like I said, I just put that in there because that gave you guys about 5 weeks also to do your work. If you guys want to go later, it's up to you, or earlier, it's up to you. I'm just trying to give you guys a chance to set your schedules this far out.
No, we don't want to go earlier. We don't want to go earlier. If we can do it the 5th and 6th, I think that's fine. If we can't, we'll have to go. I think we should go later. I don't want to cut the time any shorter than that.
I would also, go ahead, Gloria.
Just so people understand that if we do get 20 candidates, we'll be traveling probably on the 4th if we're doing an in-person we're gonna have to travel in on a Sunday to be ready to start on Monday morning. Just everybody keep that in mind.
Jerry, what did you say? You said anything but the 7th and through the 9th?
Right, I would like to get this done early in the week, even if we got to go the following week, let's do a Monday and a Tuesday.
Monday's
If
Columbus,
possible.
Monday's Columbus Day.
Yeah, that'd be a good day to do it.
Let me think. My building might be closed on that day.
On a holiday.
Darn.
So I don't know no, the 12th is Columbus Day.
Right.
Yeah.
So the 5th and the 6th would work. Terry, did you have a conflict with that maybe?
Not currently. I'll make it work. I was thought I might need to be in DC on the first Monday of October, but I will pass on that opportunity. We'll be good.
So I don't know whether you've had time to look, but if all of you had time to check your schedules, will the 5th and October 5 and 6th be available? Is that okay?
As I can determine it now, Mike, it works.
Excuse me, what'd you say, Dennis?
That works for me right now, as far as I can tell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone know it won't work?
It works for me, Mr. Chairman, but I also have blocked out 13th and 14th as backup dates. Because you're gonna be closed the 12th, correct, Doug?
We are. And we can set both those tentative dates in our notice. And so people have those who are applying know what dates that will possibly be for interviews. And so those two dates work great for me because it's right in between the Supreme Court docket weeks. So that's perfect.
Carol?
Yeah, if I just know in advance, because I teach on Tuesday and Thursday mornings, but I can get somebody to substitute. I'll have my husband go in and talk about the judicial.
There you go.
You'll have an experience, Carol, to share with your students for sure.
Well, they usually want to know questions like, how did we meet, though?
Okay, are we going for the 5th and 6th? I marked down both 2-day periods on mine, but y'all do whatever you want to do, but we're shooting for 5 and 6. Okay?
I would like to take a chance, Mr. Chairman, to discuss what we think is a minimum number of applicants. Our numbers on applications are diminishing greatly in the last 15, 20 years. Historically, district court nominating commissions were getting 25 and 30 applicants, and the last time out here we had 4. And the district court requirement is to send not less than 3 and no more than 5 to the governor, and our statutory and constitutional requirement is to send 3. So what is the minimum number of applicants? And if we don't get that number, what does the commission want to do about setting a new schedule and recruiting additional applicants? I foresee it as a problem.
Well, I think that's probably a problem that we ought to, that would be something we deal with in the meeting that we're talking about having while Terry's in California messing around.
All right, very good. Thank you.
I guess I'm really glad you brought that up, Gary. That's because I think if any of us have any ideas to encourage either individuals or groups to seek out people who might who should be considering applying for the Supreme Court. I didn't do anything. I can do something. If there's a group I should write a letter to, I'll be happy to do it. But I'm not planning to do it unless somebody says, well, why don't you write this organization or ask them for their help? Because you can do it too. You know, you can contact organizations that you know of or belong to and encourage them to fuss around and find some people that are qualified that we should be considering for this position. I don't know, Gary, do you have any? You're going to have to encourage somebody in Western Kansas to apply, I guess what it boils down to.
Thanks.
Mike, I will just add that, you know, it kind of addresses Jerry's question just a little bit. But if you guys have your deadline for applications on September 2nd, you guys have a drop dead deadline of Tuesday, November 17th. You have to get something to the governor by Tuesday, November 17th. And so it could be tight if you happen to not meet a minimum that you guys think we should have, but it could happen. A short little application period again with an interview date set relatively quickly. And so, but for everybody, for Katie and Carol, you guys have a drop dead deadline that you have to get 3 names to the governor by Tuesday, November 17th.
All right, well, I just don't think we could do any more with it today, Jerry. How's that for an answer? Not a very good answer, but I just don't believe we can do anything more with it. I think we've already discussed the fact, or assumed the fact that we're going to do this with a in-person interviews. We can do social distancing in the room that we've used. It expands, Doug says, and we can make that room bigger. We can do social distancing in there. And I personally really want to have an in-person, not only interview, but also an opportunity for us to discuss some of the reports that we're going to receive and some of the activities that we're going to have to take part in at that time. I really would like to have us, I guess it's old school, but I really like to have us sitting down, looking at each other when we're talking about some of this stuff. So I know it's an imposition, and particularly in this time, but I really would like to go ahead and do it in the judicial center rather than something like this. Okay, well, oh,
And like Mike,
yeah,
and like Mike said, we can expand to where you guys would be at a very safe distance from each other, a safe distance from the candidates. The public will also be at a very safe distance. And then when you conference, you guys would be able to do that as a safe distance. So we can take all the necessary precautions if you guys want to get together to have this in person. The only thing I will add is that Johnson County just did a nominating commission by video conference. So if you wanted to see what it looks like by a video conference, you could certainly get on the court's website, or excuse me, if you Google it in YouTube and Google the KS Court's website in YouTube, you would be able to see the Judicial Nominating Commission from Johnson County do their thing by virtual, if you wanted to give some idea what it looked like if you did it by video.
well, unless we end up with something new happens or some violent objection from y'all on the commission, I want to have it, no matter how they do it in Johnson County, Katie, I still want to have us get together if we can. Do you need to know, Doug? I assume, once again, we're going to put all of the reports that we receive and generate on that Michelle's going to put them somewhere where we can find them and look at them electronically. If any of you want paper copies of this stuff that you can't prepare yourselves, why don't you tell Michelle or Doug so that they can, I know on some things, Linda, you wanted paper copies. And if you do, well, would you say something to them and get them that way?
Well, what I ended up doing was printing it myself, so we're fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
What I plan on doing, Mike, is, everybody has that folder. Did anyone have any trouble getting into the OneDrive right now? Okay.
No.
So you'll have that same folder, and we'll have an individual folder for every applicant. So they'll have their application in their own folder, then any letters of reference or anything, we'll have that. I'll have a separate folder within their own folder themselves, so that you will see every single applicant in that folder. So that's what my plan is at this time. And then that applicant then will also have any kind of investigative report will be put in their own folder. So you can actually go in there and see that. If you would prefer, I can always, additionally with that, I can have one folder that has all investigative reports, like all social media, all, it's your preference, but I can keep it separate so that all applicants have everything that relates to them. Then I can even have one folder if you prefer to have like a social media report, a disciplinary administrator, investigative report, anything. So I can do anything that you prefer, but my goal is at the very beginning, as they will have it automatically go into. So there won't be a rush at the end. So as applications come in, they're going to automatically be uploaded to OneDrive.
Okay. That's the way I would think as the other reports come in, go ahead and load them.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so they don't have to, they can be each separate. That's the way it was, I think. And that it worked out fine.
Right.
And at any point in time, Mike, you and any of the members can actually go into that Supreme Court nominating folder because you have all the information. So at any time you can go in there and see anything that I have put in. So at any point, you can check that at any point along the way and see things that I've added. So.
Yeah. Okay. What questions do you have? I've kind of run out of gas here, folks.
I see Carol.
I have one question. As the applications come in, could you send us an email with a heads up that we received an application today or something? Because I'll be quite honest, I don't think your folder is something I'll be apt to check on a daily basis.
That's not going to be a daily checkpoint, right? Absolutely, Carol. I can do that.
Then that way we can kind of keep up with the reading of it, not have everything all at once. Okay.
And Carol, I hate to be brutally honest, but these are all going to come in with 3 or 4 days before the deadline period. So
probably
you're not going to have reading material right away.
Yeah, it's going to be, but the reports that we're generating, Michelle will put them in as we send them.
Right.
The other reports, I still think you'll get them within couple of weeks after the applications, after the applicant's identified, don't you?
Yep,
Doug?
absolutely.
So.
Well, I can tell you if it's a judge already candidate, I can tell you for judicial conduct ones, you'll get them pretty quick.
Yeah. 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 Go ahead. Go ahead, Gary.
Last time we received our electronic media reports late in the game, what's the time frame for getting the electronic media information after the deadline on the 2nd?
I think they had a very quick turnaround. It was just getting that product set up with OJA. Everybody, I think all judicial nominating commissions now are using that same service that we did. And so it should take less time than any of the other reports now. We should have those really pretty quickly. And Katie and Carol, what we're talking about is it's a social media investigation by a private company. And they will basically go through and flesh out all media contacts by a candidate. And so you'll have reports on any posting or anything that those candidates do on a social media platform.
Okay, anything else? Well, if not, I think
Francis?
I'm done. Doug, you got something else we need to do?
I do not have anything else, Mike.
Francis
You're running
has
this.
her hands-
You got
Excuse me?
a bunch of stallions. You just got to keep them in your ranch, buddy.
Hey, Francis has her hands up.
Mike and Mike
Okay.
and Doug.
Everyone
I
has
just
their
had-
hands up. I think there's a strong feeling that we should adjourn. So we will
No,
adjourn.
Francis, what do you got?
What,
I've got
do you-
one more thought. Do we need to make?
okay, Francis, I'm sorry. I thought you were voting to adjourn.
I just had one more thought, whether we needed to make it clear if we got a question that applicants need to submit a new application, not a renewal of their old application. Do we need any language to dictate only new applications will be submitted with this vacancy? Remember last year we had applications that they wanted to resubmit, we allowed them to do so with a form. I don't want anyone to be confused thinking they can resubmit again.
And we can
They-
make,
yeah.
Francis, we can make that clear in the press release. I think we did that last time in the press release, that someone who had put their name in for the previous position could just send an updated release and their application and a letter that their application wanted to be submitted for that new position as well. We're going to have a new application. And so it will be a completely new process for everybody.
Great, thank you.
Anything else? If not, thank you all for taking more of your afternoon than I'd intended to take, I guess. But if no one has anything else, we're adjourned. I don't need a motion.
All right.
Good to see
Bye,
you. all.
everybody.
All right.
Bye. It was nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Meet you.
Welcome. Mhm.